Hello, my name is Tony K. This is Urban Girl Scout Media, living the dream as always. And today I'm coming to give you my review on a documentary that it's just come out. It's available on Netflix, and it is called Untold. It is a series where there's going to be a lot of sports stories that maybe the athletes or figures involved with it didn't feel they got to tell their entire side of the story. The first episode, and likely the only episode I'll watch from what I've seen so far, is the one about the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers and the Malice at the Palace. And what I'll tell you guys is, this was 17 years ago, 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that. So I was a lot younger. I wasn't even 20 when this had happened. And I remember being pulled into my boss's office like there was a attack on the country going on again. That's literally the frantic level in which they pulled me back there, because we were all NBA fans and we watched this thing live. I believe we were able to kind of rewatch it. We either recorded it live or, because it was a big game early in the year. Pistons had just won a championship by beating the Lakers. 2 years prior, the Pacers had lost to the Lakers in the finals. On their way to winning, the Pistons had to beat the Lakers. There's a lot of rivalry there. And, you watch this documentary and there's a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't know that Ron Artest had a mental health coach. That's what I'm going to call this, whoever this person is. Psychiatrist, mental health coach, therapist, whatever you want to call him. I didn't know Ron Artest had that. He had someone following him around, helping him work through his issues. I didn't know that Ben Wallace's brother had recently died, and that was the first game for Ben Wallace since the death. And I forgot just how testy those two teams were in the previous playoffs. Again, I was like 16 or 17 when this happened. Maybe a little bit older. This was, when watching it live, this was one of those moments where you just knew nothing was going to be the same again. There are certain times in our lives where you're watching something unfold, and you just know nothing will be the same again in relation to this. The documentary itself, I feel, falls a little short. There's some things in the documentary that I believe they could have really done some powerful stuff with. And I'll get to that in a moment. But the local aim of the documentary was to allow Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal, and Ron Artest a chance to talk, finally, with footage to support it. Remember, the NBA has not allowed this. And there's a lot of people who believe that it's only being allowed because David Stern is no longer alive. Whatever. So while watching this footage, and I do want to compliment a few things about this documentary. First off, they do a great job of building up, giving you a little bit of each person's backstory, and even giving you some of the failures that the media had walking out of this. Because there was some things that the media did absolutely wrong that made the situation worse. And then the footage itself that they have is amazing. They interviewed the dude that Ron Artest just completely knocks out on the court or punches or whatever, the fat ass that was in the Pistons gear, he was on there talking shit. It's real easy to talk shit when Ron, Steven, and Jermaine aren't in the room with you. He was talking about how he felt like he was getting moved for his own protection. He was joking. They interviewed people from security. They interviewed the prosecutor on behalf of Oakland County, where this incident took place, and he talked about how he didn't go after the players, things like that. It was very interesting watching all this footage, and I remember at the time hearing about this guy. I believe his name was like John Green or something like that. The documentary did just a few minutes on this gentleman. And for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, his name may not be John Green. I don't remember exactly what his name is off the top of my head now. He's the gentleman who threw the cup at Ron Artest. And if you watch any of the footage that was uncovered of him immediately being interviewed by the media after, when it came to light it was him, he very much was a chode. Very much showed no remorse, very much showed that he enjoyed his take or his influence in what happened. And honestly, there was some other underlying things just by the way he replied that you can kind of take your own guesses. My take on this guy, even without the cup throwing, just the way he talks, he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. Speaking of pieces of shit, the media. Holy cow. Did this documentary fail to hold the media accountable? The media 100% labeled these three guys as thugs. In less than 24 hours after it happened, they went from being in a brawl, in a fight, in a Donnybrook, whatever the fuck you want to call it, defending themselves. It was, I mean, at one point, Jermaine O'Neal says he's looking around, he realizes it's 15 against 20,000. That is what they were dealing with. And the media, and I'm looking at Marv Albert, I'm looking at Keith Olbermann, I'm looking at CNN News at the time, Hardball. They show these clips. They show all these media, local media outlets calling these players thugs. That was the key word. There was a dress code implemented by David Stern right after this happened. Maybe not within 20 minutes, but the fight led to the dress code. The documentary did a terrible job, in my opinion, of holding the media and David Stern / the NBA accountable. Something else I didn't know. There were 3 police officers assigned to that game. 3. I want you to think about that really carefully. A single-digit number of police officers are being asked to run security in a building that has 20,000 plus people, and an overwhelming majority of them have access to alcohol. Okay, that seems like it's going to work out great. The media did a terrible job here. David Stern did a terrible job. They show him talking about it was a unanimous vote, 1-0 for Ron Artest for the full season. I hate to be the person that rips on David Stern as he is no longer with us. But as an adult, the more and more I learn about David Stern, the more and more I think he saw the athletes, the African-American players of the league, as less than human. I don't have any proof other than what is available for anyone listening to this to go out and watch. But I will tell you, there is a difference. I am a leader, and I have dealt with tough situations. There is a difference when someone has to be a leader and they address it in a fair way, or they address it in a, there's more to this what I'm going to tell you, and I'm right, you're wrong. David Stern very much had the I'm right, you're wrong attitude. And he did a lot for the NBA. He took the NBA from being on tape delay in the finals to where it is now. I mean, he really set the stage. Adam Silver owes a great deal to David Stern because of all the work he did. That doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes. David Stern handled this terribly. Jermaine O'Neal, Ron Artest, and Steven Jackson, it was great to hear their side of the story. It was great to hear them talk about some of the things that went into that. You know, Steven Jackson, you don't realize that this dude, he rides with his homies. He talks about that. He rides with the guys. So if there's a fight breaking out, he's going to back up his team. I admire that. It's crazy to me watching this, though, thinking about how little of progress we've actually made since this all happened. We still have a race issue. We still have tension between higher and lower class. We still have tension between middle and high, low and high, middle and low. We have tension between all the classes. And it was just crazy to watch this all unfold. And it really does make you think, like, hey, man, we really haven't come that far. I mean, the media within 24 hours had the footage. They had the damn footage, guys, where Ron Artest is laying on the scorer's table and someone throws a beer at him. Where there are fans throwing chairs. Where there are fans coming on the court. But it's the Indiana Pacers who are in the wrong here. That's crazy. And that's absolutely crazy to me. That makes no sense. Still to this day, I can remember the feeling of just scared that I had watching that thing live. So I personally recommend this documentary because the story itself is amazing. I felt like they set themselves up in this documentary where they could go at David Stern, the NBA, the media, talk about the fact that these were three black men who were typecasted hard. They could talk about the fact that these were three black men who were passive-aggressively treated with racism. They had it all lined up, and I was there for it. I really was. As soon as you see that the table's being set and you realize they have a valid point. Like, David Stern never once talked to them. They were never once interviewed by the NBA. The NBA just made a decision. Interesting. And I'll leave you with this. If you don't believe that there is some extra to this as to why we're just getting this now, two pieces. One, we didn't get this until after David Stern was gone. That is a big deal. That's a very big deal. Because everything that you can find online states there has been work for years on trying to make this, but until David Stern was gone, it just couldn't be done. So, that's kind of interesting. Then the final piece is Jim Gray, who, if you remember, he was a sideline reporter kind of around the same time. I can't remember the dude who wore the ties. Oh God, he was really popular. But anyways, they were kind of around the same time. Jim Gray says, there's clearly what was going on, and he states it very kind of vague, but also bluntly at the same time. Who are the three players that got in trouble? Who was the person that decided their punishment? Look at the differences between them. That's all it took. NBA is predominantly a black player league, but predominantly white people go to the games. I'm not saying that's who predominantly watches, I'm saying that's who predominantly buys tickets. Even still today, the white consumer is predominantly the one showing up at NBA games and buying tickets. And I think that when you allow the bullshit that happened at the Malice of the Palace, the bullshit with the media, the belief that fans, when they buy that ticket, they have the right to do whatever they want, well, then things like what's happened to Russell Westbrook or other NBA players this past season. Remember Isaiah Thomas went into the stands and talked to a guy who was cursing him out inappropriately at a game. It really highlighted pretty well that fans have an undeserved sense of entitlement when they go to these games that none of us are really here to deal with anymore. Like I said, I truly recommend this documentary. It was great. They left a couple things on the table, but that wasn't the main thing I went there for. That was extra. It would have been dessert. The main course was I wanted to hear what the players had to say. And Reggie Miller did a great job. He was in this too. There's a few scenes from Ben Wallace. There's a couple people you don't expect to be interviewed. Tim Donaghy, which if you don't remember, that's the referee that was locked up in the gambling controversy and shaving points. You have some local fans from the game. You have reporters. I mean, you do get a good amount. But I thought Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jackson, Ron Artest, I thought the three of them did a really great job getting their message across. So again, I suggest it. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much. Tony K, Urban Girl Scout Media, living the dream as always.